iOS 17 as I did for 16, but I did record a few. And I had to say, at the time of this recording, I can't imagine all of these bugs will be fixed by the time it releases. Battery life has gotten better. It's less crappy, but it's still bad. It's still like will burn your hand if you don't have a case on it.
Why
Everybody say
bad battery life right now doesn't concern me that much because there's lots of dev code running that won't be there in the GM, and all that extra dev code. That takes a huge hit on the battery.
All right, guys.
So hopefully it will be better for the actual release.
No.
Why is YouTube saying it's private? Oh, now it's not.
Let's not be. Some things we should keep private, but YouTube streams are not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that depends on the stream.
Okay.
You mean like every Mac and Big show?
But aren't they all live?
I was doing it, but
public.
They are.
Okay,
this probably shouldn't be.
But maybe they shouldn't be.
All right, now I can get social media going here. The live stream is working.
Brittany, are you watching Ahsoka?
We did catch up last night.
Oh, is there a new episode? I haven't even looked yet.
There are 3 total episodes out.
And the third episode to me, and no spoilers, I promise. Third episode to me felt like they just stopped halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
And like the credits are suddenly going, and I'm like, did I miss something? And I like backed up a little bit, and it plays, and then hits the credits at the same point. And I'm like, what the hell?
Do you remember back in the days of terrestrial TV, when like sometimes a series premiere would be a little bit longer than a normal episode, like maybe like 1.5 times or something like that. The first 3 episodes, the amount of events in it could have taken place in one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could be condensed, and I would be okay with it.
Yeah, it's not Andor. I mean,
and the first 3 episodes of Andor were the weakest ones in Andor. Like I'll be the first person to say that, but they were, yeah. Anyway,
I'm enjoying the show, but at the same time, I'm like, you could have stepped this up a notch.
Yes.
I think when you're not, it's human nature. When you're not challenged in a position enough to start phoning it in. And I just think it's human nature. And I think that is the position that Dave Filoni is in now.
Yeah. There's only one thing I want from this.
And
that is Hondo and Vizago to show up.
I always want Hondo to show up. Like that's just permanent.
That would be
but
glorious.
Despite the fact that they call him old man in Clone Wars, he is still alive because he's at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. He's alive during the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, he has to be because he's at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
So he is alive, which means he could show up at any moment, and there's never too much Hondo.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just like
they could do him terribly in live action. Let's be clear, but.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, okay, it's like all these series. It's like, can we just get a Hondo series? I want that.
No. You can't do that. Like Hondo is a wonderful, wonderful thing in small doses. You can't eat ice cream for every meal. Ice cream will lose its potency at that point.
But having Hondo show up in multiple series.
Yes.
At very unexpected times.
Yes, when I do not expect him at all. Hey, it's always the lone gunman phenomenon, and I know you're too young, Ben, but I was teasing. I don't actually know how old you are. But lone gunmen were great in small doses on X-Files, and they couldn't carry.
Oh yeah, the series sucked.
Yeah. And I worry about that when they do things like, oh, this character you loved who only had 5 lines. Let's go ahead and give him a whole series. Yeah, I didn't go so well.
Yeah. Well, see, this is what happens when you plan out what you want to do for one series and then realize all this stuff you want to do, there's no way to fit it in. So now you have to convince Kathleen Sullivan to let you do a side series that fits between a couple episodes, but it's like 8 episodes to take care of all the stuff that you couldn't do in the main series because there just wasn't enough time in those episodes. And that's how you end up with Book of Boba Fett.
Or you could have just done what Andor did and said, you know what? We're going to just be more than your normal series. Okay. All right, cool.
That would have been awesome.
I'm so sorry, Dave. So sorry.
No, I'm
We
kidding.
always go off the rails on Star Wars, and now you're just going to regret bringing me on.
No, I'm not, because it's giving me time to get social media done.
Yes.
Because I was like backed up here.
Trust me, I'm going to have I'm going to try to find a way to get my favorite Hondo line in there. You lied to me? I knew
I liked you. That's one of my favorites too.
I love that line too. I started rewatching Rebels and saw that episode just a few days ago.
Yeah, it's a great one. Sometimes I just like to do the Hondo rewatch, so I only rewatch the Hondo episodes of things. Yeah,
Hondo is an absolutely wonderful character.
he's the best.
Yep.
Just can't have ice cream for every meal.
This changes my entire outlook on life, Brittany, and not
What?
for the better. I can't have ice cream for every meal.
You can't have ice cream for any meals.
Hey.
Okay, there is that. But on a philosophical level,
You can't have I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that sounds like after a while it wouldn't be any fun. That's
well,
all.
I mean, it would be
it-
not fun for me very quickly. And
Right.
so potentially I could say if I had ice cream now, I could have ice cream for every meal for the rest of my life. Now it would just be that one meal.
Right. Yeah. But
and
a non-dairy iced dessert of your preference.
And there are some good ones.
And we have officially Max showed the In Touch with iOS.
That's okay. I am ready. So
Yeah.
you guys are. Let's do this. Do this.
Brittany, your protocol droid still hasn't moved.
I know. He's really got the restraining bolt on extra tight.
Excellent.
I mean, as long as the protocol droid isn't 000, you'll be fine.
I'm good, I think, because it's C-3PO.
I speak 5 million languages, and Mistress Brittany still makes me stand in front of the event. Oh,
Oh,
I had something I was going to say, but it's gone now.
yeah, I've ruined it for you. Sorry.
You did.
Mhm.
Oh, so my nephews were here for a while, and their names are Cyrus and Robin. And Robin, when he first showed up, because he's 2, you could barely say anything that was intelligible unless you'd already learned Robin speak. And so Kelly came over and nicknamed them Cy-3PO and Robin D2.
Because of course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
of course.
which reminds me, I was a couple weeks ago with my nephew for his birthday. They went to the local museum, which had a 80s exhibit. I
Mhm.
have selfies with R2 and R5D4.
Oh,
I
I always have him with me because he's my he
have
reminds
that
me
one
to be
somewhere still.
he reminds me to be a good motivator.
I see what you did there.
Mhm.
Squad. All right, I'm ready to start. If you guys are.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sure, we can end Star Wars Hour.
No, we
Okay.
can't.
We like pre-show stuff. Make sure I have the right episode.
You
269.
want to start the show.
Yes. These are not the
This
droids
is
you're
not
looking
the show
for.
you're looking for. Move along.
Yes.
Oh God. There we go. In
Watch the Mac
5,
show tomorrow at 10 Central.
4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 269 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I am so thrilled Brittany Smith is back on the show. How you doing, Brittany? Great to see you.
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I think the last time we had John is when we were sitting lakeside and doing a nice live recorded episode of the show during Mac
Yes.
Stock. But
That was it.
and we saw each other for the first time. It was so great.
I know. It was.
In person, that is.
Mhm.
First
but,
time and the
so-
last time.
No, never. But great to be. I'm so glad you're here. Also here is Jeff Gammett. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And it's great to get to hang out with all of you.
Absolutely. All kinds of fun things to talk about this week. And last but certainly not least, Ben Rathik is here. He did a little different location, but how you doing, Ben?
Yes, I have decided to move out of my basement office into my living / dining room, just to change things up a little bit this week.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that because we always have to have a little bit of change up here to make things exciting, right? So we got a fair amount of news this week, including they finally gave us an official announcement of when the announcement's going to be, and I'll get that in a minute. All kinds of different news, and we're going to have a pretty cool conversation because Jeff is going to tell us a little bit about Text Expander because
Wait, what?
just because. Yeah. It's going to be a nice little discussion, so we'll talk about that a little later in the show. But as we always do, let's go jump right into the news for this week. And like I just mentioned, Apple's September event for the iPhone 15 is now official. It's going to be on September 12th of this year, and it'll be at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and you will be able to watch it through the Apple Events pages on YouTube, on Apple TV, and you might even hear me on a Reaction Time episode with Mike Potter on For Mac Guys Only. There's just all kinds of crazy things we're going to be doing here. So they're calling it Wonderlust, which I found to be an interesting name. I wondered where that name came from. Do you have any idea, Jeff?
No. No.
It almost seems like it would have made more sense last year when they were introducing the Apple Watch Ultra, because it was like going out and doing all the things, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for it to be I'm sorry, Brittany, you were talking.
Oh, they better have a some kind of traveling angle, or I'm going to be super disappointed.
I would hope so.
Brittany, that's kind of where I was going. But I'm concerned that the travel angle might be you can sit on your couch and wear your Vision OS face mask and visit anywhere in the world, or these other amazing locations on made up planets as well. And I mean,
Okay.
if that's what it is,
If it's the
no.
planets, I'm good. So
Well, it depends on which planets.
I mean, yeah.
Let's go to other things that's going to happen during this event. It's going to be pretty obvious the iPhone 15 is going to get announced with there lots of rumors, including the 15 Pro Max, and that seems like most of them are going to be. But the big thing is going to be is Dynamic Island's going to be across all iPhones, they're saying, as well as the USB-C port. Is it finally coming to the iPhone? Ben's going to talk a little bit more about that a little later in the show, but that definitely is going to be a huge change. I know we're going to be talking a lot more about that because that's a big change from the Lightning port. So we'll see some feature updates, but again, it's all rumors, so we're not really going to get too deep into it. They've been talking about 3 nanometer chips that are going to be coming out. The rumors is that those have been coming out. The A17 chip, which with the A16 is the current one right now. And yeah, camera's probably going to get upgrades and all that fun stuff. So they're also going to probably see an Apple Watch. I almost guarantee that I might upgrade this year because I'm still on this. I'm still sporting the 7, so I can't have 2 years behind on a model for me. That's I let it go this year. Also rumors of the fact that Apple's going to come up with the AirPods Pro 2 case with USB-C, which is a possibility. I guess we'll find out if it's going to be a extra accessory for those of us who already have AirPods, or is it going to be both? But an updated version, we'll find out about that stuff. Ben, you have any other thoughts about the event? And I'm excited. I'm always excited about it. Apple events.
Yeah,
it's a holiday for me.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I'm super excited. I'm still on my 12 Pro Max,
Yeah.
so I'm more than due. And what gets me super excited, well, my beloved blue is supposed to come back to the Pro phone lineup.
And I did have the blue. I did like that. So that's going to be something to look at for colors too. You know, Apple's going to sport some newer colors, which they always do. Jeff, what do you think? You're sporting the 13, if I remember correctly, or the 13 or 14.
I've never moved beyond my 12 Pro.
Oh, you're still on the 12 with Ben. Okay, good.
Yep. But I did go to the Apple Watch Series 8. So
That's right.
At least I'm up to date there this week. My expectation is that Apple is going to do exactly what I said they wouldn't do, which is they are going to support USB-C on the iPhone. I really have been feeling like what Apple was going to do was skip USB-C completely and move to a wireless charging only system for the iPhone with a proprietary data port. And then the whole USB-C for charging is no big deal because then that's built into the cable that connects to the charger that goes into the wall. And so it doesn't matter. But I think that what's really going to happen now is that we will get USB-C on the new iPhones, but people are going to be pissed off. I think Apple is going to intentionally hobble the functionality of USB-C on the non-Pro phones, and for the Pro phones to be able to take full advantage of what the ports are capable of. That's going to be an additional purchase where it's a higher end USB-C cable.
Absolutely. I know, Brittany, you're going to be kind of sad because there still is no Mini, and
yes, I will continue to be sad, especially because I want a 3 nanometer chip. New chips get me excited, but a computer that doesn't fit in my hand is not a very helpful handheld computer. So
I am so with you on that.
I will trudge along with my 5 nanometer chip. I do have a watch from last year, though, so I also don't need a watch. Probably
you have the 13 mini, right? 13 mini.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm looking at a 12 mini because I keep my phones forever.
Well, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So it's definitely going to be interesting. We're going to definitely be covering it over the next few weeks, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Next story here, China has overtakes the U.S. to become the biggest iPhone market in the quarter 2 of 2023. It is now the biggest iPhone market in the world, overtaking the United States for the first time in its history, based on data analyzed by global market research firm Tech Insights. Again, we're looking at a global research company, so you kind of take it maybe with a grain of salt here. But I can understand this as the sluggish U.S. Smartphone market in the second quarter had been slow because customers have been kind of delaying the purchase of new phones in anticipation of new iPhone, and then it just seems that it is slow. But the iPhone 14 Pro Max was the best selling model, so I just find this to be interesting. How could China all of a sudden take over when China was such a struggle to get the iPhone in their market to begin with? What do you think, Jeff?
I think it's a matter of they needed to open the proverbial floodgates.
Yeah.
And once they got through all of the behind the scenes political wrangling that Apple had to do, then it opened that door, and it was going to happen eventually. So the news here isn't that it happened; it's that it happened when it did.
Yep, absolutely. What do you think, Freddie?
Yeah, it was inevitable like many things, but I'm not very happy about it because I feel like it'll have Apple by the stranglehold a little bit more in terms of some of their choices that they make. It will be harder to make a financial choice that is against what China wants, and that worries me a bit. But there's not much I can do about it, so I can just hope people will make good choices.
This is true. And stick with an iPhone. How about you, Ben?
Like they said, this was inevitable. In addition to cultural and political reasons, with all the manufacturing and increasing quality of Chinese made products, it has significantly increased the buying power of Chinese workers to the point where they have, I'm not saying all Chinese, but especially in these factory towns, have a very Western-like way of life. I mean,
Yep.
economically, of course.
Right, of course. So it's interesting. We'll see where it goes in the next quarter. These aren't official numbers. This isn't coming from Apple, so he's got to take it with a grain of salt here. So, next story here: Apple plans to stop providing customer support on Twitter and YouTube. What? Apple is planning to eliminate social media support advisor roles across both those platforms, Twitter, X, YouTube, and the Apple Support Community website starting later this year, according to multiple sources that are familiar with the matter. When the changes take effect, customers will no longer be able to receive support from an Apple employee on these platforms. This will be starting on October 1st. The Apple Support account on Twitter will no longer have any human replies to customers sending direct messages. In addition, sources say Apple will no longer provide technical assistance to customers in the comments section of all the YouTube videos, those awesome YouTube videos that they post all the time. So it is affecting about hundreds of employees from Apple, and they are going to be given the opportunity to transition to a phone-based support role to the company. But some advisors are unable or unwilling to make the switch because they probably prefer to chat versus being on a phone and speaking over to do support. So they'll get extra training and all that stuff, but they've been doing this since 2016 on Twitter, and it's really just definitely interesting to see wondering why Apple's doing this. So what do you think on this, Brady?
I mean, Twitter used to be Twitter and it's not anymore. So I guess I can see that, although it is still like a place people go to get. I mean, I've gotten support from a company in the last year on Twitter, but not super recently, but in the last year. So I can kind of get that, but it's a little bit too bad. It's nice to be able to reach out and get support from multiple places, and for some products the phone support is higher quality than others.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I follow their feed on Twitter. On Twitter X, I guess we got to. I'm never going to call it X. Anytime any kind of post would flag, I would get a notification. So they were pretty good at responding to all requests on there. So it's kind of sad to see that kind of go. What are your thoughts on this, Ben?
I think the other two sites are directly related to Twitter on the X, whatever it's called this week.
We're
I
changing.
think it is a single labor pool
Yeah.
with the majority of the work going to Twitter, X, whatever. Once now that has become more difficult with X Corp's questionable tactics in trying to monetize, I think it just got to the point where it's not worth it for Apple.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. How about you, Jeff?
Here's what's really going on.
Hypothesis time.
Not even hypothesis.
Or-
This is just what's going on.
Hypothesis. Yes.
It's
Okay.
not practical for Apple to continue offering support through the Elon platform. I'm calling it that because I'm not into dead naming, and and even doing it in this case, I feel like I would be going against my principles. So the Elon platform. The cost for companies to be able to have an account that allows them to do the whole DM support thing is it's not a practical thing. And then what you need to have as an end user to be able to participate in that, the number of people that can actually participate in a support call or support request through that platform is strikingly small. So,
Yeah.
so calling out Apple for abandoning the place where it's been very easy to get customer support, sure, go ahead and do it. But at the same time, keep in mind that all of these other companies that you have gone to the Elon platform for to get customer support, they're not going to be doing it either. There's no value in that for any of these companies. And then as far as pulling it for support from YouTube, my guess is that when Apple ran all the numbers through their spreadsheets, they weren't seeing what they needed to justify the cost of maintaining that. So give the people the option to be part of the support team through other areas. Good. And get away from those platforms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I mean, if it was cost cutting and not the platform, they'd be laying them off instead of offering other positions.
that's true. So it isn't cost cutting. I definitely think it's just they just want to pivot away from it, make it different.
I think it goes beyond they want to. They really have to, because it's not a viable support platform anymore.
Yeah, agreed. Especially Twitter. Next story, Google Photos on iOS is going to get a locked folder for sensitivity snaps. Google Photos users on the iPhone will now be able to lock their most sensitive images and videos in a special passcode protected folder thanks to a new feature that's rolling out in the iOS app. Previously, it was only available on Android phones. This privacy-oriented locked folder feature will allow users to save photos and videos in the app with a separate space that requires Touch ID, Face ID, or a passcode to access it. The media saved in the folder remains hidden, meaning the sensitive photos don't show up as users scroll through their Google Photos or any other apps on the device. This is something good to see, and even Google is saying that the locked folder content backup to the cloud is done securely, so they protect the data with multiple layers. The whole thing that Google always says. But I think Google does have a pretty decent service when it comes to photos backup. Is there anything you use, Jeff?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, I'm glad they're doing this, because if you have family members, friends, children that for whatever reason might be seeing images in your camera roll, we're all grown-ups here, and there's a possibility that we may have some photos and videos that aren't child appropriate or friend appropriate or whatever. So being able to hide away that content is good. That can also be things like legal documents, your driver, a photo of your driver's license, stuff like that, stuff that other people don't need to be looking at. So I'm glad they're doing this. And I look at this and I think, oh, this is great. Now only me and Google get to see all of my private stuff.
And, you know, we trust Google, especially the fact that 3 years ago they were forced to contact some 100,000 users to inform that some of their private videos backed up on the servers were accidentally sent to strangers due to a technical issue.
So I
Any thoughts on
actually
that?
have a funny story
Britt?
about that.
Good.
So I don't know if this locked thing was available on the web, but I know a couple who had a Google photo album at their, like the little picture frames, Google smart devices,
Oh,
whatever they're
no.
called. And they realized that the only way to have pictures flash up that they were okay with everyone in their household and visitors to see was to say, no, only ones that recognize our child's face are allowed to go on the picture frame. Because otherwise, some of the photos they would prefer their offspring to not view were popping up. So that was their solution. I don't know if this was available on the web or if they just didn't go through or how they got backed up because they're all on iPhones. But that's their backup solution is Google. And yeah, that was happening on their frame at home in the kitchen.
Oh, Mommy, what's that?
What is that?
That's dessert.
Yeah, dessert.
For daddy.
Oh, God. Oh my God. Ben, take us out of this. Add any of your thoughts to this.
It's about time. Apple, I mean, they have this feature on Android. Apple has their hidden folder. I mean, not every photo you take needs to be available to everybody.
Yep. Agreed. Just a follow-up to a story we talked about a couple weeks ago. Apple has officially discontinued the iTunes movie trailers app. It was announced today as we record this that the iPhone movie trailers app for the iPhone, with a notice that the Apple TV app is the new home for movies and TV show trailers, is no longer possible to use. You're no longer possible to use that app, which was launched back in 2011. Apple TV app is the new home for this, and in the release notes, it says that open Apple TV app to watch trailers. So basically, delete the app. You don't need it anymore. And it started beginning a transition earlier in the month as of today. So RIP, it needed to go away. I think smart that Apple did this, and it's good to be in the Apple TV app. What do you think, Jeff?
I'm sad to see it go because it's an app that I loved
I
using
did.
for a really long time. But at the
did
same
enjoy it.
time, wait, it was still around?
I didn't remember it until we talked about it a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah.
it was, but it's great to see that they're keeping it alive, but within the Apple TV app. Any thoughts on that, Britt?
I didn't know it was a thing until it was on the news as something shutting down. So it's not only do I not have nostalgic memories, I have no memories of it whatsoever. So
Okay, it's okay. How about you, Ben?
I thought this went with front row.
Oh, good times.
That was good times. So that's enough of that. And then lastly, I wanted to close with a kind of a funny story here. This was an iMore. Famous Apple repair company, excuse me, wants to fix McDonald's ice cream machines. And who saw this
ice
coming?
cream is
Just
a
say
lie.
iFixit.
It's iFixit, exactly. iFixit,
Yeah.
the name, no doubt familiar with them. It's a company that normally turns its hands to tearing down and fixing Apple hardware, like the iPhone 14, for example. But now it's turning its hand to something new, something very close to our hearts, I guess. Well, I'm not Jeff, because he can't eat dairy, but yeah, they want to have a fix of McDonald's machines, which. It seems like when people go to McDonald's, of those who eat there or have a ice cream cone, their machines are always down. And why do they want to fix it? I don't understand this. I would thought it to be a kind of an amusing story here. Give us your thoughts, Ben.
Honestly, I know a lot of places whose self-serve machines are down. Maybe they should think about another vendor. Because this one
Maybe.
obviously has no reliability.
Seems so. Any thoughts on that, Britt?
The ice cream is a lie. As in, why would they bother to try all ice cream machines at McDonald's are always down, apparently. I don't actually go to McDonald's, but I know enough to know that the ice cream's always down.
Oh yeah, I think there's websites out there that actually have a system to show if it's down in your particular location, which is
So
just
I
crazy
actually
people out
was
there.
looking at on the iFixit website recently for something that was not related to Apple at all. My Sphero BB-8 does not hold a charge anymore at all.
no.
Yeah, doesn't that
And
suck?
they
That's
had a
horrible.
thing on replacing the battery, but it really didn't sound like it was going to go back together at the end. So I didn't brave it.
Hey, Brittany, here's my little tired BB-8 too. Oh,
Yeah. My aforementioned nephews kept wanting to play with it. I was like, we can only do one thing with it, and that's watch Force Awakens. Like, that's literally all we can do with this droid. Because it stays plugged
because you have
in.
to keep it plugged in and in the church.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway.
Well, any
the ice
thoughts on
cream's
that, Ben?
funny.
It is
Yeah.
funny.
BB-8 can barely last past the sequel trilogy, and Hu Yang's been going for 25,000 years. They don't make them like they used to.
Oh,
Wow.
that was a deep cut, Ben.
That's
I mean,
Wow.
I respect it.
that's hard.
Hey, Dave,
All
I'm
right,
thinking that that since no one else has been able to fix McDonald's ice cream machines, why not give iFixit a crack at it?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
it
give them a
Couldn't be
crack
any
at it.
worse.
If they do it, another story. But let's go ahead and move on here. Moving on to the topics for this week, beta, as we talk about always, Apple did seed the 8th beta of iOS 17, iPadOS 17 to developers, and the public beta is available as well. Go out there and do it. I made the mistake of going and updating my iPhone that I use as the camera that you're looking at with me today. That's why I looked weird at the beginning of the show, because it was updating. So, it did go pretty well. So that kind of proves you. I doing it on the last minute update there. I was able to get it back up and running here. But so a lot of stuff we've already been talking about already, and they've moved the end call button back, and the buttons are in place and all that.
Can I
stuff.
tell you how angry I am about this?
Yes, I would like to hear you. I would like to hear your view on this, because we talked about when
I
it
was
in the
so
wrong place.
livid. When iOS 17 first came out, I was texting my business partner, who I spend about 5 hours a week on the phone with, hey, guess what? I won't hang up on you anymore when I get my phone out of my pocket, because they moved the button literally from anywhere other than where I swipe up.
Yeah.
I don't care where it is, as long as it's not where they put it back to. They put it back there, and I'm so mad. And I immediately, as soon as I realized it, messaged Apple feedback to tell them it was a terrible choice.
And I'm sure you and thousands of others did.
People get used to it. We can put the button somewhere else.
But then they have all the other buttons that are down nearby there too. You can tap, but randomly you don't want to as well. So
It's bright red, and it has an icon, and you can have buttons labeled too. And I just don't understand why we can't have the button somewhere else. Anyway.
well, this is true. How is your experience with iOS 17 overall, and now the 8th beta now? Like, you get your opinion on it.
I don't think I've seen any new issues in 8. It might be more stable in this one. But I'm not sure if I've noticed one way or the other this week. I finally solved a couple of my problems. I don't like the changes to messages. Like, I don't like them. I mean, I like the ones that they haven't actually released yet, in theory, that aren't in the beta yet. But so I made a video about it, and it was only by making the video did I discover how to fix a couple of the things that had been annoying me, because they were that unintuitive. But other than that, yeah, it's fine. I mean, the autocorrect changes are fine. They're good, but like once it stops being broken, you stop noticing it.
That's
Like,
true.
tell me when your foot stops hurting. Like you don't notice when it stops. So
That's true. How about you, Ben? How's been experience with 8 and overall?
I mean, it's been fine. You can tell they are pretty much just ratcheting things up so they can get to the RC. The only real differences I saw was in macOS Sonoma, where you got a bunch of awesome wallpapers / screensavers.
Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah. But I mean, I would, to be perfectly honest, we'll probably get the RC like the day after Memorial Day or Labor Day. I can't. Yeah, I
I
can't
do it too.
tell them apart.
You're right alone. Jeff, did you say your iPad's down? Your battery's not working, or have you?
I can't find my charger for it, so
Okay,
I haven't
you haven't had any
installed this most recent beta. And you know, I could dig out another charger from somewhere, but that still means having to go look for another charger. I'll find it. I'll get it juiced up again and get the beta installed and look at it most likely and be like, nah, it's not that much different from the previous betas.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about the charger thing soon.
Yeah.
We
will. But let me get to WatchOS 10. That's out. The 8th beta for that. Anything notable for that, Ben? I know you have it on your watch. TVOS. But
yeah, WatchOS, TVOS. To be perfectly honest, I have noticed 0 interface changes since the initial beta.
Nope, I agree to that. And then Vision OS, of course, we all have our Vision Pro beta going on right now. That's a 3rd beta out right now, and I guess a select number of developers have access to this headsets at this time, which the headsets are used for app testing purposes. I know Apple's been very, very locked down for anybody to show anything on that device except allowing them to develop their apps. And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. Even when this announcement coming up in next month, we're not going to hear anything about the Vision Pro. That's a long time down the road here. So, but they do have a lot of work to do. But another thing to kind of look forward to see and hear about. I don't think we'll be buying that anytime soon. But
I wanted my brother to apply to get the developer kit for it because he is an AR developer. But he is concerned that their best work is done with a real screen that sees through and has an image lay over it rather than looking through an image and cameras for the type of really technical work that he does. But it would have been fun, even if I couldn't see it, if he had gotten one, because then he'd know for sure. But anyway.
And didn't mean to be ignoring the chat room at youtube.com/intouchwithios, but I just noticed that Chuck Joyner's in the chat room. How you doing, Chuck? Apparently he's watching us tonight as well as WebBixby. Great to see you guys as well. And I wanted to, and then Web did talk about who makes the ice cream machines, but we won't go back into that topic. But glad you guys are in the chat here tonight. Appreciate that. Let's see. And I wrapped up everything with beta here. So let's move on a little bit here. I want to give a little story that I experienced here with HomePods. I bought 3 HomePod minis, which actually OWC, Other World Computing, had a pretty amazing price on the HomePod mini. They were selling it for $79, which is really, it was the absolute best price ever. And I had been looking at putting some extra ones in our lake home, as a few of you have been to here on the panel. That I wanted to put one on one on each level. So because we already had one, so we're going to add 2 more. So I went through the process, and I'm like, because I'm kind of keeping it on my account, my HomeKit account. And I was like, why am I doing this? Let's go and create another location, but keep, because you can add a second page, in the HomeKit, app, and it does allow you to set that up that way, which I need to get better at using HomeKit and getting things more automated, and so we're going to talk about that in just a minute here. So it was a really relatively easy process. I mean, this one that was already set up, I had to do a reset of it because I couldn't move. You can't move a HomePod from one little page to another, separate locations. So easy as just when it boots up, you hold and touch the screen at the top, and it'll turn red, and then it tells you that the HomePod's going to reset in a few seconds, and it does its thing, and then iPhone recognizes it, and the setup was just super easy, and I was able to name each one of them in the location I want to put them in, and we can plug them in, and now we can stream music in separate locations, or we can put music on all 3 levels. So I think that's going to be a kind of cool thing. I know I'm not the only one that's done that, but I think it was a pretty streamlined, easy process to do with the HomePod minis. I'm sure you did that, Jeff, with your HomePods, right? In your house.
Yeah, doing the switch to my new location for me was super transparent because the network didn't actually change, just the location.
Right.
But in the past, when I've taken a HomePod to a different location, I didn't have to do a reset because the HomePod knew my iPhone. And when I switched to a different network, the HomePod followed automatically. But herein lies part of the problem. The whole system is just flaky enough that expecting it to work will only lead to disappointment. So when it does, it's a pleasant surprise. But what you had to do, that's pretty typical, to have to reset the HomePod, and then setup is super fast, and which is good, because if you have trouble with a HomePod, the only troubleshooting you can do is reset it,
which is what I need to go do.
Yeah. And then do the fast setup thing again,
Yeah, which I did not too long ago.
Yeah.
Honestly,
so
Apple, you need a HomePod app bad.
You really do. I mean,
my God, yes.
This HomeKit is. I even been struggling with it, and I just I haven't had the patience to. I've got a couple things in there for automation, but it just gets so frustrating to deal with. I mean, I've got now 4 Apple TVs going on in my house here now, because we put an extra TV down in our second level, because we wanted to be able to watch TV down there now, and just put a small TV down there. But of course, I moved that that Apple TV down. That was already running a TVOS 17, so my wife is actually using it. She doesn't even realize she's using beta. I'm having her beta test for me.
That's a pretty good test, because if it's working fine for her and she doesn't even know, there you go.
It sounds like shaking hands with danger.
It was, and I hadn't even thought about it until like just today. It was because there's a HomePod Mini down there, and I had it set up so the sound on the Apple TV goes to there, because it's sitting right next to her. It's like, you're going to get great sound right next to you there, instead of going through the TV speaker. But then of course lost connection, and I said, oh wait, this needs to be updated. I'm still waiting for beta 8. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, and tell everybody my experience with that, because the HomePods were very easy to set up. So leading into that, I'd like to talk a little bit about HomeKit in itself, and get your guys' experiences on how you've built a actual smart home around the HomeKit. I know, Jeff, you of anybody has been most vocal, especially with the HomePods themselves, because of just the frustration of how they work. But why don't you just talk a little bit about how especially you experience having to get everything reset up on your new network and your new home. So, what has been your experience with HomeKit with that?
I think HomeKit is a really great thing for hobbyists. This is not something that I would recommend for someone that's trying to do serious smart home automation. And to be fair, I wouldn't recommend Google Home or A Lady for that either. If you want to do really serious, sophisticated smart home setups, you go with one of the pro systems where you have a pro installer come in and all that, and it's a totally different game. Those are cool. What we're doing with HomeKit, this is for fun hobby stuff. And there are people that will tell you, oh, no, I'm using this in a very serious way. And to that, I say, good for you and bless your heart. And I hope it keeps working. That said, getting everything set up here in my new place, once I had everything plugged in, and I still don't have everything plugged in, but once I had all this stuff plugged in, then it was actually interesting to see how cumbersome the Home app became, because I have lights that aren't in the same places that they were in my old place. So they needed to have new names and needed to switch rooms. And as I was going through the process of moving things from one group to another and getting all of this stuff set up, I've been finding that there's still places where I'm going to have to go digging to figure out what's going on, because it's just opaque enough that you can't figure some of this out or find some of it.
Right.
An example is when I turn or change my lights for watching TV, all the lights in the living room do what they're supposed to. And then one light over my kitchen bar turns off or on. Could be either. But it used to be, there's 3 lights over the bar. It used to be the middle light. Now it's one of the end lights.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's who knows.
Have you considered that your place might be haunted?
If it's haunted, it's a very new haunt, because this place is about 5 years old. My old place, and I preface this with, I do not believe in an afterlife and I do not believe in ghosts. My old place was haunted and I did see the ghost.
I mean, it could always be built on the whole native burial ground thing.
Well, considering where I am, it's very possible that like Chief Left Hand stood here, well, 3 levels lower, but stood here where I am right now.
Absolutely. How about you, Brittany? How's HomeKit been treating you? Have you got the thing set up the way you like?
Nope.
So.
When I installed the beta, which is not on my watch stopped giving any messages, and my HomeKit stopped, or my HomePod stopped responding at all. So my Wi-Fi, which is crap, if it's not on my phone, they're not on the same network, so it can't do anything. And my phone's the only one that it will listen to. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm not super thrilled with it right now. In theory, when everything works, it's great. I feel like those are very short windows in time, which makes me very sad, because it's been around for a minute and I think it's time for it to work.
It really is.
So,
it really is.
Dave,
and
I have I'm sorry, Brittany.
No.
That's the second time tonight that I've talked over you. I'm sorry about that.
I'm always talking over people. It's kind of what I do accidentally all the time. So you're good. I don't remember, but it's fine.
Okay. No, thanks. I appreciate you giving us some of that. Go ahead, Jeff.
I have a question for you, since you've been moving HomePods around. Have you started experiencing a problem where the wrong HomePod answers you?
Yes.
Oh,
holy
yes.
crap! It's gotten super bad for me over the last month or so.
Yeah.
Where to get the right HomePod to speak to me or to respond correctly, I actually have to go to that HomePod, lean down, and whisper to that specific HomePod so no other device hears me.
Right.
Yes, and then the iPad, the iPod, or not that, the iPhone across the room picks it up.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I was thinking about getting more for my new house, and now I know that my spouse will leave me if I do that.
How about you, Ben? How about your been your experience?
I should love it, but it's eternally incomplete. Uh, right now in my laundry room, I had two lights on thread that were working perfectly. Then now one of them apparently wants to only work half the time. I have to go in and manually change it. I mean, we've all fallen in love with HomeKit, or at least the potential of HomeKit. I couldn't wait for the day that Siri for third party devices was announced and never went anywhere. But I remember the day when Apple announced on the slide there would be Beats, basically versions of HomePods that never showed up. I mean, to be perfectly honest, Apple, finish your work,
Yeah.
or just hand it off to some Matter app. Because what we have right now is the ultimate hobby. It's
Right.
it's like we'll do one little thing here, and then maybe another little thing in 2 years.
Yep. Seems to me we're gonna need to revisit this topic at another show, because there's gonna be a lot more to talk about here. Because I would really love to get to the two other topics we have left on for this evening. So, and for the show. So let's go ahead and move on, and I'll put this as another discussion topic for a future show here. So. The next topic I want to talk about is text expander. I never thought about doing this, but I thought this would be an absolutely great discussion with Jeff, since he kind of knows a little bit about text expander
I've been using
what
it for
text
a while, sure.
and you kind of worked for them at some point, and you did do a few things that we were an evangelist of. I think is a good word. So I kind of started using text expander within the last couple of years, and jumped on the whenever they were having a bundle hunt and the Summerfest deals, and get all those free credits. Not free, you had to pay a little bit for it, but really cheap credits. So I went back and looked at my account, and I still have 34 credits left. It's gonna be lasting me for another 3 years.
Nice.
So I've been using it for a fair amount of time, and I started implementing it within my workflow, because there's so many things I'm typing all the time when I'm doing, I'm placing orders and such, and there's things I wanted to do automation, and I definitely know this is another topic we probably could do another show on as well. But I just want to kind of tell people what text expander is, and then let's kind of talk a little bit about what you find it's most valuable for its use.
Well, let's start with the basic thing, which is, do you really need text expander?
Yes.
And the answer for some people actually is no. If what you need to do is have a bunch of words that you can just like type an abbreviation and then that word appears, you don't need text expander, because that's what Apple's shortcuts expander thing does, and that's great. And there you go. You don't have to spend extra money to be able to do something. But like so many things that Apple does, they set up a feature where you can do stuff. And Keychain is another great example. If you need to do more than the basic thing, expand a word from an abbreviation, do more than just autofill some passwords. That's what Apple calls third-party opportunities, and that's where text expander, 1Password, and Backblaze, all these other services and apps come in. So for text expander, if you need to do more than just expand out some words from abbreviations. That's where you need text expander. And Dave, one of the things you just said is you have like, or at least I'm inferring from what you said, you have a lot of forms you fill out online.
Yeah. A lot of
And they're
forms,
probably
things I
very
have to tell
standardized.
in tickets, that I'm logging, information I have to put in all the time, the same exact thing all the time, not one single word. It's a sentence or a short sentence.
Sure. And it could be like it's a ticket. And so you have to put a piece of information, jump to the next field, and then put in whatever goes there. And it just goes down the line. And maybe it's like 5 fields.
Yep.
So in that case, you set up a snippet that lets you fill in all the information that the form's going to need. And then when you call the snippet up, it gives you a window, you fill in everything, maybe it has some pop-ups or whatever. And then when you click the button, it automatically puts all the right information in the right fields for you. And that's something that I do multiple times a week, because when I'm doing a webinar, moderating a webinar, the interface that I log into, it's the same information every time, no password included, because never put a password to autofill. And don't know, that's what 1Password's for.
Right.
But for me, it's a thing where I'm already a known entity for the webinar. So when I go to log in through the special interface, it's the same information every time. And I have that set up as a snippet. And so I just click in the first field of the form, type my little snippet, and then it automatically fills in the correct information in every field for me. And then it's done. And I even have it hit return for me at the end. So it fills everything in and then just takes me right into the webinar. So I'm not even clicking anything extra to submit.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So again, sounds like another topic we're going to have to spend a lot more time on, because there's just so much the text expander can do. Like you said, snippets are the most powerful thing of text expander, being able to just do all kinds of different little things that just automate and make your life easier.
How about if I give you another quick one? Because you're
please.
a podcaster, so you're probably doing some form of standardization for your file names for your shows.
Yep.
Set up a snippet that has whatever that standard format is. And like for me, when I create files from a podcast, it's like the show name with the date in it. So set up a snippet that has the show name, and then use the calendar feature and have it create the date for you. So it automatically creates the correct file name for you every single time. Yeah,
that's another awesome way to automate things. There's so much others. I mean, not everybody's a podcaster that's listening, but it just seems very powerful enough that it does give a lot of benefit for you for automation, and it can make things easier for the way it works. Brittany, you're a shortcuts girl, so I don't know if you do too much of the text expander, right?
So I use Keyboard Maestro. So
That's right.
I actually have a very, very old version of shortcuts of text expander on my phone. So technically I use it on my phone, because it still works, somehow magically. And on my computer, I use the built-in. I use the built-in on both, but there's just a couple of things that, were, like Jeff said, too complex for it. Mostly just date stuff that is too complex for the normal. And I just use the native one. And then for the more complex stuff, I use Keyboard Maestro.
Okay. You can do a lot of cool stuff with Keyboard Maestro.
So like, posting YouTube videos or whatever, like I'll have the text, like programmed variable text put in for that. So, so that I like the variable way better. Like it just works with my brain a little bit better than remembering keyboard combinations.
Sure. And Ben, do you use text expander at all?
I don't. Honestly, I basically use a Mac version of the Windows Post-it Notes app.
Ah, okay. Okay. Like I said, everybody has their own workflows. That's okay. I mean, but
Yep, whatever works for you. That's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
right
whatever,
system.
it's the right
it
system for
was
you.
something an old employer taught me, and I just haven't moved past it.
That's okay. No, that's a good thing. So I will have some links in the show notes, just getting started and features, and talking a little bit about the iPhone and iPad. You can use some snippets in there as well. Like Brittany mentioned, that she has a really old version of the iOS app. Yeah, I believe Text Spanish stopped supporting an iOS app. It's not in the
Oh,
App
it's not
Store
officially
anymore. So
supported. It just works.
yeah, you guys have an older version, and yeah,
Hmm.
but they did
Yeah,
stop.
I
They did
blame
stop
Apple for
supporting it.
that.
Yeah, they did stop supporting that. So, last topic I wanted to hit this week was, again, I built up to when we talked about the event that's coming up, is the USB-C connector that should be, it is going to be, we think, I'm pretty confident that it's going to be in the iPhone, long overdue. But Ben posted something interesting in Facebook, and that caught my eye, and I thought it'd be something to talk about, as well as he's going to be writing an article on this on his blog post. So
Mhm.
why don't you just tell us a little bit about what your thoughts were about the USB connector, and it really should have been done introduced in the iPhone sooner than it is going to be now.
Yeah.
So
Um, I was thinking about this last night. Um, it came through with a couple things. Number one, I was kind of checking about how long Apple has been using that connector, and it's 8 years now. Also, why some products have transitioned to USB-C. Like my mom has a USB-C iPad, a a Lightning iPhone, and they look similar enough and work similar enough where she, the average user, is confused as hell as to why they won't work. So this kind of got me thinking. I mean, personally, in my view, USB Type C was designed to replace all ports, including Lightning, which
Mhm.
it got a lot of its inspiration from. And I'm thinking about when it should have been introduced. And honestly, it should have came into play with the iPhone 10. Um, we had kind of a weird system where it's like the Mac and the iPhone were in two completely different worlds with technology that overlapped, did the same thing, and honestly just required the user to have a whole lot of cables. I mean, the whole thing about having a USB-C with a set feature, with a very set of features. Yeah, that's Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Apple has made USB charging cables since literally 2015. It just, I mean, to be perfectly honest, it I mean, Lightning was a great technology and still is, but it just kind of confounds me. It's been around as long as it has.
Yep. No, I agree with that 100%. And I think it's due. I know it's bittersweet because we've been so using Lightning, but we've put up with it. Brittany, do you have any thoughts about the USB-C? What do you care? Does it matter?
It's time. But what the mistake, and this has already happened, it's in the past, was they dropped support for, or they dropped sending out charging bricks at the same time they swapped to the other end being USB-C.
Right.
And normal people didn't have a USB-C yet. Anything.
Right.
And so that, I think that burned a lot of people. So include chargers. Make sure, I mean, they won't have the brick, I get it, but like include a cable. Make sure that people feel comfortable utilizing said cable. Don't make
Yeah.
them too expensive. Do the things that make the transition easy.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I look forward to having a single plug that in a pinch can add any charge, even a small amount, to a device.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, personally, when you have a single cable that can charge your Mac, your iPad, and an Android phone, but can't charge an iPhone, that's the most un-Apple thing I've ever heard of.
Yep. How about, I know, Jeff, you have comments and thoughts about
I
this.
always have comments.
Yes.
So I really like the idea of standardized cabling just because it makes it easier and considering the shape of Lightning versus USB-C, we have that added confusion. And Ben, the idea of iPhone 10 getting USB-C, on one hand, I'm surprised it didn't happen because that would have been a logical time to do it. On the other hand, I'm not surprised at all. I think if Steve Jobs had been here when the iPhone 10 was released, he would have said, it doesn't have USB-C because USB-C is a bag of hurt. And it is, and it still is. And like right now, how do you know which cable is going to give you the best performance for the device that you're plugging it into? And the answer is, well, you don't. There's no system for looking at a USB-C cable and knowing this one's going to give me the charge that I want. This one carries data, but this one doesn't. And why is my iPhone charging so slow? Now, granted, a little bit of charge is better than none at all. But if you're expecting your iPhone to charge at a certain rate and it doesn't, most people are going to look at the iPhone and then Apple and say, what a piece of crap. They're not going to look at the cable that they bought at a grocery store checkout stand for $5 and think, well, maybe it's the cable that I used. So what I see happening is that we're going to have this very confusing thing where people just accept that the standardized cable world that they got into is disappointing. And that just sucks because it shouldn't have to be that way. And what I'm expecting is that when USB-C comes to the iPhone and I get a new iPhone, then I'm going to spend a stupid amount of money to buy two cables so that I have two cables that do everything, which means that I'm spending what, 120, 150 bucks per cable? Because isn't that what they cost it's insane. So I'll buy two because even though I should have more, I won't be able to stomach spending any more money on the cables in that. So I want this to be so awesome and I want this to be so great. And there's been way too much committee in USB-C and we as consumers are going to pay for it. But you're right, Ben. If Apple was going to do it, they should have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, I will give one rebuttal to that. It's a lot more confusing for the geeks than it is for the standard user. Standard user doesn't care if the cables charge only USB, USB-C, or not USB-C, USB 2.0, 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, Gen 1, Gen 2, Thunderbolt 3, or Thunderbolt 4. The only thing they use that cable for is charging, which is the only thing they expect it or Lightning to do.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true. A lot of people have no idea that they can send data over a Lightning cable.
Yeah.
I
would say it's probably 90%.
And that's totally fair.
Do you want to add something, Britt?
No, I was just agreeing. Lots of people won't care. Charging is most of what I do. Every once in a while, I need to do something else. I have ones that have slow data and fine charging, probably a bunch of anchor cables, so that it can do both. But I mean, the vast majority of what I personally do is charging.
Yeah, I think most of us do for these. But I can't agree with you more on this, Jeff, is there's too much confusion with cables. It really is. And you get a USB-C cable, it's got the same type of connector. Do you know, is it going to charge it or not? I mean, there's plenty of times I've had like I have this sleep headband I have that plugs in it, and you can't use some of those cables to charge it because it's not designed to charge with that type of cable. It has to be.
I actually bought a thing off Kickstarter where as I was buying it, I couldn't hit the buy button fast enough or the support button fast enough and hard enough.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I was like, this is so stupid that I'm having to do this. And
Yeah.
it's this thing that tests your USB-C cables. So you plug it in, same cable, there's a connector on either side of this board, you plug it in, and then it lights up so you can see where, if it's doing data and power, so you can figure out by plugging this in at least what the cable is capable of, even though you might not be able to tell what its maximum throughput speed is. At least you know if it'll do data or if it'll do power or both. So yeah, that's a thing I had to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up. But before we wrap up, I wanted to mention MacStock again. The virtual pass is ready. All of the speakers now can be seen. I watched mine back again. I was like, God, I did that. No, it was really good. And I watched all of you that are here, because Brittany Smith was there, as well as Jeff Gammett, myself, Chuck Joyner, Allison Sheridan, Dave Hamilton. There was just so many great speakers, and this is the best time ever now to sign up and go to the site and purchase a digital pass. It's not that expensive, and there's so many great speakers you can see for this year, and support MacStock. And we're going to have some great times next year when it comes out in 2024. So please check out the site. We have links in the show notes here that tell you how to sign up and check it out. We're definitely excited about it, and I want everybody to be able to watch it. So please support us and all the great work we did at MacStock this year. And Brittany's giving her a thumbs up, and I think we all are. So it was an absolutely great event. So please support that. It's macstockconferenceandexpo.com. And just the links are there in show notes. You don't have to think about it. Just go there to our show notes and please check it out. Again, thanks to everybody that was in the chat room here tonight on youtube.com/intouchwithios. I'm super happy to see some folks in there. That was great to see here. So let's go ahead and wrap up the show for this week. And that is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow the show. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at In Touch with iOS. You just go into that Mastodon, you'll find that, as well as on X. Other thing you should do is buy me a coffee. You can buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on YouTube, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. On our YouTube channel, again, it's youtube.com/intouchwithios. You can watch the live stream. We leave the live stream up. You can watch it again if you want. And we also have all of the shows in audio format on YouTube, so please check that out. You can also visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we talk about are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. To subscribe to the show, you can go to your favorite podcatcher, which includes Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65, as well as on X, DaveG65. And Brittany Smith, thank you so much. It was so great to have you back on the show. Where can people find you?
You can find most of my, boring professional stuff at conquer.consulting. I have dared to go into Mastodon on occasion where I'm ADD Liberator. And ADD Liberator is also where you can find me on YouTube and TikTok.
Great. That's great videos over there. Go check her YouTube channel out. And Ben Ray, thanks you for being here. Always really appreciate it. We'll look forward to your blog article on that topic of USB-C soon. But where can we find you?
Well, on your social media choice, and there's a ton of them these days, you can find me at Ben Rithig on all of them. There is a benefit to being the only person with your name on the planet. You can find all my current articles and the USB-C one just as soon as it's finished at rithig.tech. On Tuesday nights, you can find me on Mac Voices with Chuck Joyner. He is currently in the chat room. On Thursday afternoons and Friday mornings, you can find me with Mr. Jeff Gamet. He's on the call on the Big End Mac shows for the British Tech Network. And of course, you can find me as a regular contributor here on In Touch with iOS.
All right, great. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thank you as always for being here. I really appreciate it. And where can people find you?
Well, first off, it's always great to get to be here. And I know that I say it a lot, but it's true. I genuinely have an awesome time and look forward to getting to do this. So thank you. All right. So social media, I'm Jay Gamet on all the platforms, Mastodon, Instagram, that's where I'm most active. And then shows. Well, everything Ben said. Tuesdays, Mac Voices Live with Chuck Joyner here on Thursdays because you keep letting me come back for In Touch with iOS. Then and then I'm your interim host on the Big Show and the Mac Show on British Tech Networks. That's Thursdays and Fridays. And then Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And we appreciate you for listening and watching. We really enjoy the show, and it's so much fun to do it. And until next time, we'll talk again soon. Thank you, everybody. Yes, that iPhone app is gone on Text Expander, right, Jeff?
Yeah, they totally ditched the whole iPhone iPad thing at some point. It that happened after I was gone from the company, but I did a Google search and discovered that there's textexpander.com/mobile, and so apparently they're starting from scratch. That's my assumption because there's this webpage and it says Text Expander for mobile. We're building our mobile experience and want you to be part of it, and so you can get early access to it. And I haven't actually read the page, so I don't know if it goes into details about what the mobile versions will be able to do. But based on the icons at the top of the page, Android and iOS. Oh, look, version, get the iOS beta, get the Android beta. So, yep, there you go.
Good.
Well, I guess I'll sign up.
Well, there is a beta. Where is that? I want to sign up.
Textexpander.com/mobile.
Oh, I think we got to jump on that.
Get the iOS beta. There, I'm signing up.
I won't pretend like the really, really old, because this was, in the upgrade pricing days. I won't pretend like it's not buggy AF, but when all you need to do is have it autofill a date for you on occasion, it's okay.
Yeah,
which the native one cannot do.
Yeah. The frustrating thing with the iPhone and iPad versions for me was that, first you had to use a separate keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And the apps that it wasn't universal. Mm-hmm. So each app needed to add Text Expander support.
Or use the keyboard, yeah.
And Yeah, and so it was like very limited.
And I confess, so I was using, apps that had the built-in support mostly until Shortcuts. And Shortcuts
Mhm.
did not have the built-in support, Workflow back then. And Workflow did not have the built-in support. And so that's when I started finding other ways around it. Because I'll do the keyboard thing sometimes, but I don't love doing it because it is buggy, and especially on my iPad, it gets bigger every time you hit a button. Like it zooms in too much and then you can't see all the buttons. It's weird. It's also ancient, like I said. But yeah. Something else would be nice. But you know what? Things like built-in clipboard manager would be nice too. Like you don't have to do it
Yeah.
on the Mac, but I
Mhm.
don't have a choice on my iPhone. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, that beeps. I have to get going for the night.
Okay. Thank
As
you.
do I.
Appreciate it. I'm going to say goodbye to the live stream. Thanks everybody for being here.